Adults of Reddit, what is the strangest teen trend you have seen? When I was in high school, late 90s, there was this trend for people to take the wrappers from big red cinnamon flavored gum, soak them with their own saliva and then stick it on their forehead and rub until it gave them a rectangular cinnamon burn on their forehead. It was ducking bizarre. I'm 26 and this was huge when I was in middle school. Same with licking your hand and then rubbing an eraser on it to peel off a layer of skin. I'm a high school teacher, so I've seen everything from the parted down the middle pen 15 head haircuts of the mid 90s to the whole emo thing to those fidget spinners that were popular last year. But the weirdest trend I've seen was the Juggalo fans of 2006 plus. I am endlessly fascinated by Juggalos. The whole subculture is like a train wreck. I can't stop looking. And the music that they put out is just absolutely horrible. The weirdest thing at my school was that they had complex family relationships. There were upperclassmen that were moms and dads, aunts and uncles. It was kind of sad. Really. Teachers thought they were trying to create families that they didn't have at home. We played something called the dart game in high school. You'd say somebody's name and if they looked and made eye contact you pretended like you were shooting them with a blow dart gun. They would then have to fall to the floor motionless until somebody pulled the invisible dart out of their neck. There were a lot of teens in the 90s that thought wearing and sucking on pacifiers was really cool. The one where girls tried to make their lips bigger, act as swollen and disfigured, with everything from bottles to vacuum cleaners. WTF? Honestly. WTF? In middle school we would fold paper into these thick wedges and use rubber bands to shoot that at each other. We called them hornets. Our folding skills and material choices became so elevated that a kid got hit in the neck and it left a massive welt. Another kid got hit in the eye and had to go to the doctor. The school banned folding paper and rubber bands. I don't get why lip syncing is something you do on camera now. Is it musical lie or some shit? I dunno. Get the hell off my lawn. Actually, I'm a millennial, so get the hell off my dad's lawn. I thought the Macarena was the strangest thing ever as a kid. That or that dance move where you grab your ankle and act like a hammer or something. Getting a smiley. Flame up a big lighter for a good few minutes until the metal shield is as hot as it's going to get. Then hold out your arm and someone presses it into your skin. How long you kept it there? How big the blister then scar was a badge of honor. I didn't move my arm. 15 years later and I can still see the smiley face scar. It's faded enough nobody would know. I came from a very depressed part of the UK. In junior high, around 93-94. It was cool for a few months to walk up to your friends and pick them up by their heads. The administration finally stepped in and made an announcement banning it because obviously you could break someone's neck doing that. I have no idea how or why that became cool, but it felt like everyone was doing it. When I was in 5th grade, back in 0607, all the girls would walk around and punch each other in the tit. We'd yell "I just gave you breast cancer" as we did it. We had to have a huge meeting a couple weeks later with all the girls in 5th grade where the female teachers were telling us how inappropriate and idiotic it was. I'm honestly not sure if this happened anywhere else besides my hometown. I live in NZ and was in high school in the end of the 90s, early 2000s. And guys and girls used to walk around and slap tits while yelling, "I just gave you breast cancer." So pretty sure it's not just your hometown. Probably a thing everyone does. When I was in 8th grade, edit, San Diego. Late 1980s. For a few months the fab thing to do was take your pencil eraser and use it to erase your skin. Basically, you abraded your skin until there was an open wound. It was super ducking retarded and I never did it. However, one girl in a lot of my honors, believe it or not, classes did it. And she still had a 1-inch scar on the back of her hand when we graduated HS years later. Edit. Apparently this is still a trendy thing to do in 8th grade. And this is why we don't let 8th graders do pretty much anything. When I was in high school, 2002 to 2006-ish, I had multiple friends take some salt, lick part of their arm, sprinkle the salt and then hold an ice cube to that for as long as they could. Had a friend practically give herself frostbite and ended up with a giant burn mark. WTF? More among tweens than teens. Think for 6th graders. Been seeing a lot of cat ears. Not just little wire ones. Either. Holographic ones. Fake fur ones. They're wearing them in public places. Like museums. Stores. Parks. Trains. It's not necessarily bad, but it is a little weird. There were a handful of girls at my high school, graduated 2012, that liked to wear these. They'd also wear fur tails that hooked onto a belt loop. In my last year of high school, guys would go round shazaming each other, which involved punching one in the nuts while shouting Shazam. I was not a part of this and had no interest. But this little dickhead who was desperate to get in with the popular kids smacked me hard as I was walking past where he was sitting. Then starts laughing his head off. As a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, I punched him hard in the mouth, which seemed to come as a surprise. He immediately stops laughing and looks at me like, how could you? Like I haven't abided by the rules of this stupid Shazam sheet. I felt a bit sorry for him in a way. But duck that. Punching someone in the nuts is the absolute lowest in my opinion. Doesn't matter if you think it's some sort of game. Planking. It makes no sense and I love it. The first time I heard about planking was on the news as they reported about someone's death by planking in a stupid place about 10 or so years ago. Upon learning about it, I immediately recalled an older boy at my bus stop in the 80s who used to lay in the middle of Main Street while we waited for the bus. It was the first time I consciously determined someone was not in his right mind. Dabbing? It just looks so dumb. And I'm not sure where it comes from. Edit typo. I teach middle school. I did it a couple of times to try and get the kids to realize how cringy it looked. They ducking cheered me. There is no hope for the future. I'm just not even sure how it devolved into this. When I was a teen. 90s. Coloring your hair with Kool-Aid. My brother went to school with half tropical berry and half fruit punch or half lime green. I did that with the red one. Red Kool-Aid and conditioner overnight in the blonde part of my hair and it stayed red for months. Cheapest longest lasting hair dye ever. This might be a parenting trend instead of a teen trend. But teens don't seem to be allowed to do nothing these days. The teenage years are an important time to figure out what it means to be you. But that's hard to do while playing 3 sports and being in 2 after school clubs. Seeing other adults looking down on their phone while driving at neck-breaking highway speeds. It's not like you're driving a death machine or anything. I get pissed at people when they text and drive while I'm a passenger. Everybody should see some images of people in car accidents where their face gets torn to shreds and disfigured. I bet that would turn some people off of checking their Facebook while driving. Older celebs doing the backpack kid or dabbing to stay relevant makes me cringe so much. Stop. You look like an idiot. I am only 21. But I never understood the appeal of bottle flipping. Also 13-year-olds wearing makeup that makes them look like they are 20. When I was 13, I wore summer camp t-shirts with blue eyeshadow and pink lip gloss. I didn't even know contouring was a thing. The way girls squat in pictures. As if they're making room to not block the face of the non-existent girl standing behind them. Okay, a legit trend I haven't seen yet is how kids in high school seem to only communicate via social media and group chats. It seems like none of them ever text but are constantly in a steady stream of notifications in various groups on various platforms. I just got off the plane the other day and a kid in my row turned on his phone right when we landed and legit had what seemed to be hundreds of notifications. I personally always mute any group text or channel I'm added to. In the 90s when kids at school would knock each other out. Not by fighting, but by squeezing someone's chest until they passed out. Kids would volunteer themselves. I seen a girl have a seizure and another one fall and hit her head. Only to wake up giggling. back in 2015 to 2016. There was this challenge where people would try to make themselves pass out. You'd hold your breath and blow air out with heavy breaths. Someone actually died, not from my school, from it because you can completely deprive your brain of oxygen, and my school gave suspensions to some of my friends that tried it and anyone else that tried it. For those saying this happened in whatever year prior. This is when it was prevalent around me. Not saying it never happened before. The whole business of walking about with your pants hanging down around your knees. WTF? Pants on the ground. Pants on the ground. Looking like a fool with yo pants on the ground. A game called Quarters. A test of pain tolerance, I believe. Place your fist, knuckles flat against the surface of the table, while another participant shoots a quarter by force of his thumb as hard and as fast as he can via downward force applied to the quarter. Pants with holes. I was a teenager when it became popular about 20 years ago, and I didn't get it back then either. I guess I was already an old man then. What was that dance where you hold an empty end of one sleeve and then use the arm which is down the trunk of your shirt to thrust forward? I'm looking for any answers, lads. Can explain further if needed. Homelessness. I'm only 27, but I ran across a girl on Instagram. Had to be no older than 17. And she was homeless. Like, on purpose. Apparently she ran away, and she posts about her day-to-day activities. One post was about her having to steal pads from Walmart because she was bleeding through her pants. She also talked about how she was having sex with all these grown-ass men for money to survive. That's a sad enough story, but the comments on her videos were mind-boggling. All these teenage girls were cheering her on. One girl said, "TBH, you make me want to be homeless cause it looks like fun." What? Edit. Let me to edit to say. I know running away is not new, but social media has made it to where people can cheer on people like this when really they just need to go home before something bad happens. Female teens that are just now becoming 18 seem to have this weird thing where they end every sentence by raising the pitch and breathiness of each word while simultaneously letting the volume trail off. Like they lose their confidence midway through. Thought my little sister was the only one until I met others. Edit. I'm 27. I live in a small town in Wisconsin, and this one blows my mind. The high school kids drive around town shooting each other with Nerf guns. Seems innocent enough, right? Well, what makes it interesting is you can only be shot if you have clothes on and only shoot people if you're naked. So yay. We've witnessed naked high school boys and girls running around outside their homes. These kids just constantly drive around trying to find kids to shoot while crunched in a car in their underwear. I can't wrap my head around the whole finding people Pokemon on a phone or fidget spinners. But this one takes the cake. Social media. People only post good experiences about their lives. Perfect places. Fancy food. Awesome anecdotes. An edited view of this is how great my life is. Then others view these profiles and stories of their friends. Friends of friends and complete strangers. And either consciously or subconsciously compare themselves. Why though? Why would you, en masse, subject yourself to lower self-esteem based upon a made-up existence of artificial perfectness? Is it any wonder suicide is up 30%? That and Logan Paul. What? I'm a 54-year-old white male high school algebra teacher. Whenever one of these stupid fads comes up, like flossing, I do it every day in class. Within a week it is a lot less cool than it used to be, and they quit doing it. Works every time. I'm 21, which is technically an adult, and I live through silly bands. I remember wearing so many at a time that it cut off the blood flow in my arms. There'd WSS a game when I was in high school where you would get someone's attention and act like you're blowing a dart at them. If they weren't covering the sides of their neck, they have to sit on the floor until someone pulls the dart out of them. Teachers hated that one. We weren't quite teens, more like 11/12. But way the hell back in 1984 or so, a fad went around my school, tying shoelaces like a tie and wearing them around your neck. This was who jabbed my school. The coolest kid in my class would wear like 9 of them at a time. We didn't use just any shoelaces either. They were long wide ones with colorful patterns on them. We called them New York laces. Funny thing is, I've never ever been able to find a reference to this anywhere else. As best I can tell, it was confined totally to our local area. I can find a few scant references to New York laces online, but nothing I've found mentioned wearing them around your neck like a tie. I even remember having a substitute teacher who lectured the class. Shoelaces are for your shoes. Yesterday in one of my classes, one of the kids was wearing it on his ear. Shoelaces are for your shoes. If you have them anywhere else on you, you take them off now. She was seriously offended by all us little dweebs wearing laces around our necks. I really wish I could find someone else who remembers this. I'm positive I didn't make it up. No one will see this cause I'm late. But in high school from 2006 to 2010 we had something called chicken nuggeting. Basically, you would wait until someone left for the bathroom. You'd take their backpack, remove all the binders, and flip the backpack inside out. Then you'd replace all the binders and rezip it. This made it extremely difficult to get the bag open again if you did it correctly. I have no idea why we called it chicken nuggeting. It escalated to the point where people would get more prestige for the more difficult nuggets. Could you do it while they went to the front of the room to solve a problem on the chalkboard? Could you use a paper clip attached to the zipper to zip it up even tighter, making it impossible to open up? Could you do it to the popular girls' Vera Bradley purses? People would lose prestige or points if the chicken nuggety or the teacher caught you doing it and foiled your nugget. People started taking their bags everywhere, even wearing them on their chest rather than their back. Girls used enormous purses without zippers. Guys carried all their binders in their arms. People enlisted allies and were inevitably betrayed. It was glorious.